Ev to Phil, October 15th, 1942, 5:40 p.m. Phil dear, we had supper early this evening, so I am writing earlier than usual. I received 2 letters today, Tuesday and Wednesday. One was mailed from Middletown and the other from Harrisburg. The Wednesday letter was certainly a surprise. If you mail your letter before 7 p.m., I think it will arrive in 24 hours. When I wrote, I'll be happy if you're happy no matter what happens, I had a feeling that something was going to break. Evidently, I was right. Dayton, Ohio isn't too bad considering that Benny, we got a card today, is in San Francisco, California. He was, page 2, in training for camp from San Francisco when he wrote. He says, quote, well, I guess I can't go west much further, end quote. We also got a card from Milt, Camp Shelby, Mississippi. He went on a 7-mile hike with full pack and rifle. There's plenty of work, but he says he doesn't mind it at all. He also says that it's hot all the time, and it's 1,300 miles from good old, quote, filthy, end quote. I interrupted the Fromers just now in order to use their phone. I called the electrical bureau and found out that Dayton, Ohio is 533 miles from City Hall, and the fellow there estimates it would take 11 hours, page 3, by train, although he admits the train company might have a shorter route, which would shorten the length of traveling time. I hope I get the opportunity to see you once again before you are shipped, sweet, because I probably wouldn't see you again for at least 3 months, if you go to Dayton, Ohio. I also called Ethel. Benny is in the Coast Artillery and is at Fort McQuaid, California. He said the trip out was really something. Pullman all the way, and he could order whatever he desired in the way of food. He said he would never have been able to make such a trip in civilian life, and he's very, page 4, happy. Incidentally, the Government Aviation Experimental Station is located in Dayton. Jack N. was well satisfied with your letter. I won't write under the flap again, although I thought it more personal. Your letters are always so sweet and reassuring. It's mighty good to receive 2 at once. The pen becomes steadily worse. Everyone is fine and sends love and regards. I got such a yen to see you tonight that I feel like getting on those wings you gave me and fly directly to you. You always seem so close at 9 p.m. I concentrate on you most at that time. A kiss from my sweet, thoughtful husband, and may I see you soon. Lovingly yours, Evie. Phil to Ev, Thursday, October 15th, 5:15 p.m. Dearest Evie, right off the bat, I'll tell you the news you want to hear. I'm not leaving. Yet. The list was posted yesterday, and wonder of wonders, I wasn't on it. This was like manna from heaven, especially since I had every reason to believe that I was, quote, shipping, unquote, as the expression is here. When I got hold of Sergeant McL, who incidentally is hard to get hold of as an eel, I asked him about that A pass. After inquiring my name, he shook his head and said, you won't be needing it. I asked him if that meant I was shipping, and he said, quote, what do you think, end quote, which in the Army is almost as close as a sergeant comes to making a direct statement. My hopes sank to rock bottom, and I took it for granted I was to leave. Rather than allow myself to moon about it, I decided to have myself a fling. So I picked up, page 2, my B pass. Although it was a miserable night, chilly and wet, I got dolled up, put on my slicker, and caught a bus for Harrisburg. Half an hour later, I was sitting in a movie house, 22 cents, and seeing Wake Island. Just pretty good, but inspiring. I got out about 8:30 p.m. and took a walk in the drizzling dark. I never felt so alone in all my life. So I consoled myself by living over again the pleasantest time of my life, our courtship. The day we went to Atlantic City, New York, and Brighton. The way you looked in your white bunny and black taffeta dress. How sweet was the reunion when I returned from Phoenicia and we embraced in the dining room at Chestnut Street. I wonder if you realized then how much I loved you at that instant. The fragrance of you when we spent those long but so short hours in blissful embrace, and we were the only people in this whole wide world when we stayed with Barbara and Phyllis. The way you thrilled me as I watched you dance, and how afraid I was that you didn't love me when I realized how much I cared and wanted you. And that crazy, page 3, sweet, goofy, delectable night on the Chestnut Street porch sofa, when you told me all the things I was so hungry to hear, and how sweet were your tears as you lay in my arms. Those shopping tours we made, how anxious I was to have you get the things that were most becoming to you, and how proud when you wore them. The wedding, the honeymoon, Radio City. Yes, baby, I had time for all these memories and 1,000 more. I was wandering in a sort of a mellow daze when I saw a sign, Elks Servicemen's Canteen. Realizing I was as thirsty as I was wet, I went in. They were very nice to me, asked me if I'd have anything to eat or drink. I was only thirsty, so I settled for a Coca-Cola and a couple of crawlers. After removing my wet slicker and cap and settling back to read, I had picked up a Philadelphia record, and my drink, I felt that it was a pretty good world after all. How good it feels to know that some people appreciate the value of a soldier and do what they can to make, page 4, his burden of loneliness easier to bear. About 9:45, I decided it was time to be getting back, so I thanked the hostesses very kindly for their hospitality and went off to the bus. About 10:30, I was back in camp. I don't know what it was exactly, some sixth sense probably, that cautioned me to enter the darkened barracks carefully. As I gingerly pushed the screen door, I felt a weight against it. The pocket flashlight, bless it, showed it to be a large stepladder laying against the door. Very carefully, I pushed it aside enough to enter, thereby disappointing a couple of practical jokers mightily. However, it turned out I wasn't as clever as I might have been. No sooner had I undressed and snuggled between the sheets than 3 fellows opened the door and upset the ladder with a clatter loud enough to wake the dead, and the Sarge. That party was very upset by this rude interruption of his sleep and made his grievance plain in no uncertain and very foul terms. I was rather upset myself a little later when I was suddenly roused by a terrific crash. This party wasn't so fortunate as his predecessors in calamity. Besides knocking the ladder over, he tripped over it and went flat on his, page 5, face. For the next few moments it was bedlam. The fellows either laughed uproariously or cursed with mortification, each according to his sense of humor. I'd say it was a 50-50 split. Personally, I did neither. Rage and amusement fought it out in my head, and it was a draw. So all I did was write about it next day. Today was rainy again. I heard that they had posted the list of names of those to be shipped, so I trotted down to have a look-see, fully expecting to see my name among the others. Imagine my surprise and gratification when it did not appear among the S's. This morning I had charge of the platoon again and drilled them all over the place. After lunch we were dismissed and told to fall in at 2:40 p.m. in our best uniform for a parade. What a parade it was. We hadn't marched 10 minutes before we were soaked to the skin, but it was 3:30 before we got back, and since we wore no raincoats, we really got wet. The band went with us, and the officers turned out en masse, so it would, page 6, have been very nice if it weren't for the rain. Anyhow, immediately after, I picked up your letter, had the granddaddy of all meals. Listen, boiled ham, asparagus, corn, celery, cranberry sauce, boiled diced potatoes, fruit salad, and 2 blocks of ice cream. As if this weren't enough, maybe they don't want us to quit the army. They handed each man a pack of his brand of cigarettes. Can you imagine? I don't know what this man's army is coming to. Then I ran into the lieutenant and verified the fact that I was not leaving. So, with wings on my feet, everything considered, I headed for the barracks to let you know of my good fortune. I've been at it ever since. As things stand now, I still have a chance to get that A pass, and probably will, unless something else crops up. Now I have to get out in the rain and mail this. But the way I feel, I wouldn't care if it were raining firebombs. Good night, sweetheart, and hope for the best, as I am hoping. Love to all. Yours, then, now, and forever, Phil.